Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander Score Studio. Welcome to the show. So we've got some massive price drops thanks to some great reprints from Lord of the Rings, the Commander Precons. And yeah, if you haven't seen my episode on the other price drops that we got that actually put them into my budget range, make sure you check that one out. A lot of great ones in there, but some really good ones here. Yeah, these unfortunately are not in my budget range right now. They are still above $1, but they might be within your budget range. And who knows, maybe with some more reprints, they might eventually come to mine. Regardless, let's jump into it. First up, we've got a fantastic one for tribal decks. Door of Destinies, a huge card, 4 mana artifact. ETBs, choose a creature type. Whenever you cast a spell of the chosen type, you get a counter on this. And then creature chosen type, get ++1 for each of those charge counters on this. Basically, the more of those creatures for your tribe that you cast, the bigger all of them become. And of course, there's other ways to play with counters on it. You know, you can have something like, like a doubling season, which doubles up counters. And then you can also have ways to, well, proliferate to get even more counters on this. That being said, even just straight up, hey, in a tribal deck, when you're just not doing anything else except for displaying your creatures that share that creature type, you're going to get a lot of counters on this. Your creatures can become absolutely massive. Your tiniest little 1/1 can be absolutely huge. Yeah, this card has not seen a lot of reprints in its time. It came out all the way back at Morningtide a long, long time ago. And yeah, it was around like a $16 or so card. Got reprints in what, 2014, 2017, and now finally reprinted again. It's been a long gap, like 6 years since it's been reprinted, dropping it all the way down to just under $5. Again, nowhere near my budget, but might be within yours. $4.79. If you're looking for this in a tribal deck, now might be the time to pick it up because who knows when it's going to be printed again. Moving on, Combat Celebrant, an incredible card, one that. Yeah, apparently its promo version's like $45. A $12 card, though, regularly. Now just $3.44. A Human Warrior 4/1, 4/2 in a red. If it hasn't been exerted this turn, you may exert it as attacks. When you do, untap all other creatures you control. All creatures you control. After this main phase, traditional combat phase. Basically, hey, do you want an extra combat for just 3 mana and potentially a creature that maybe can stay in play if you've got ways to protect it, maybe a way to give it first strike, etc., etc. Regardless, just, hey, 3 mana extra combat. What's not to love about that? Especially maybe if you've got a human tribal deck, a warrior tribal deck. Yeah, that can really slot right in. But yeah, if you just have a really attack synergy deck, essentially, like Ishin, yeah, doubling up attack triggers, attack Harmonicon, this can be huge. Again, getting you extra combats is massive, especially on a creature that you can use and abuse. So, yeah, Combat Celebrant's been a great card ever since it came out all the way back in Amonkhet. This is the very first reprint of it, so it's been some years since we've ever seen this thing reprinted. This is the first one, and yeah, dropping it down to just over $3, so make sure you pick this one up. Next up, a huge game-ending card with Genesis Wave. This was like a $5, $6 card or so. Came out in Scars of Mirrodin. Got a reprint in Iconic Masters, but hasn't seen a reprint since. Finally, a reprint here, nearly within my budget. I mean, ish. $1.62. Sorcery for X, green, green, green. So a giant X spell. Reveal the top X card of your library. Put any number of permanent cards of mana value X less among them on the battlefield. Then put all the cards revealed this way that weren't from the battlefield into your graveyard. Essentially, hey, dump a ton of mana into that X. If you're in, maybe a permanent based strategy, a creature strategy, one that doesn't have a lot of just, spell slingy type cards and sorceries, hit pretty much everything you want off the top of your library. You're going to be able to put enough into that X to be able to put essentially anything into play off of that. And yeah, dump it all into play. You might just ramp a ton. You might get, some key pieces in play. You might be able to get game-ending pieces in play. This is just one of those giant X spells that you're like, yep, throw a ton of mana into it and probably win the game from there. If not on that turn, on a future turn, because you just went so far ahead of all your opponents with all that value. So yeah, a huge card, one that I would love for it to be budget. Unfortunately, it is not. So yeah, make sure you pick this one up if you are looking for it. I mean, budget for me. Might be budget for you again for $1.62. Another green card they reprint. A fantastic card, and one that really hasn't seen an actual reprint. Scars of Mirrodin when this came out. Mystery Booster, sure, it got kind of like a reprint there. But also, hey, now it's finally reprinted in Tales of Middle-earth. $2.89 right now, underneath $3, was like a $9, $10 card. Asceticism, a fantastic one. An enchantment for 5 mana into all 3 green, green. Creatures you control have hexproof. That just in and of itself is massive. That is a huge way to say, this ain't no ward here, all right? There's no, pay 1 or 2. No. You have to, not target my creatures. You cannot. I can target my creatures. This is not Shroud. I can target my creatures. You cannot. So good luck dealing with them, especially since this also has pay 1 and a green, regenerate target creature. So yeah, that's not perfect. That's not as good as Indestructible typically, but yeah. A way to say, even if there's a board wipe and I've got some mana, I can save some of my key creatures. And yeah, you can't target my creatures. That is huge. Again, enchantments, like I've said many times, is probably the hardest permanent type really to deal with. There's a lot of other ways to deal with other permanent types, even like battles. I mean, guess what battles you can attack them? Same thing with planeswalkers. This one is probably the most protected kind of type of card. So, yeah, it is a great card to just throw in play and say, my creatures are probably going to be protected for quite some time with this. So, yeah, a great reprint, $3. I would love for this to be underneath $3, underneath $8 at some point, I should say. But, yeah, if you've got the budget for it and you've got, you know, a creature-based strategy, make sure you pick this one up. Moving on. Treasure Nabber, the first reprint for this one as well, came out all the way back in Commander 2018. Can't believe it's been that long. A 3/2 for 2 and a red, almost said a green, don't know why. Goblin Rogue, whenever the opponent taps an artifact for mana, gain control of that artifact until you at the end of your next turn. This is massive. Again, an opponent. Yeah, in a one-on-one situation, sure, that's just okay. But obviously, this card was made for Commander. Great in Commander. Whenever any of your opponents utilize their mana rocks, you get them. Temporarily, but you get them. And you can just utilize all that mana. So your opponents are tapping Soul Rings and whatnot. Hey, you just got a giant burst of mana until the end of your next turn. Utilize it. And of course, if you've got ways to maybe sacrifice those artifacts, you can be extra mean and do that. And basically just utilize it and get rid of it. $2.51 down from around $9. A massive price drop. Again, the very first reprint for this card. A very good value-centric card for you that, again, can just be a denial card as well. It can also be just a way where your opponents are like, I don't want to give that player extra mana, so I'm not going to tap my mana rocks and utilize them. So you can kind of just like deny your opponents of their own mana because of that. So that can be absolutely huge. Yeah, a really good card. Speaking of which, Anger, a really good card in its own right. An oldie but a goodie. I think this card came out back in like Onslaught or Odyssey, sometime a long time ago, back when I started playing. It's seen a couple of reprints in its time, but still, I mean, it's commanded a price of over $5, $6 or so, even with all those reprints. I mean, Forgotten Realms Commander, Mystery Booster, Ultimate Masters Commander Anthology, a lot of reprints. Finally seeing a reprint here down to $1.64. Still not quite in my budget, but might be within yours. Again, a massive price drop, though. 2/2 Incarnation with haste that costs 4 mana. Typically, you don't really care about being in play, though, because what you care about is if it's in your graveyard and you control a mountain, all your creatures have haste. That is a huge effect, basically fervor, but from your graveyard. If you're, I mean, you are in red, obviously, if you utilize this, you probably have a mountain in play. Cool. Just get this in your graveyard in a variety of ways. Again, Faithless Looting. Discard it into your graveyard. Or, yeah, just get in play, swing with it, attacking someone who's going to block it, or just keep it in play as a blocker, essentially, or sacrifice it in a way. Get in your graveyard, and all of a sudden, now your creatures are hasty. That is a huge, huge keyword to give your creatures. Your opponents have to always be on the lookout for, well, what you're going to be doing, because you're going to be able to get creatures out and just swing right away with them. Of course, this works really well with activated abilities as well of creatures that have a tap effect as well. Yeah, just a really good aggressive card that can be fantastic. A really good card. Anger. Almost budget friendly for me, but not quite. Next up, one that dropped in price significantly. Elvis Piper, down to $1.63, all the way down from like $6, $7. This card has seen some reprints over the years, but not many. I mean, its most recent reprint was Masters 25. Yeah, it wasn't too long ago. But Magic 2010 before that, a long time ago. I mean, like 10th edition. Long time ago. So, yeah, this price drop is pretty huge. A 1/1 Elf Shaman for 4 mana, soul 3 and a green. Pay single green mana. Tap, put a creature card from your hand on the battlefield. Yeah, cheat something massive in play. Cheat a Blightsteel Colossus in play. Cheat whatever you want into play for just a single green mana. Obviously, if you got ways to untap this, cool. Do it again and again. You got a lot of ways to utilize this card very effectively. Obviously, it could work well in an Elf tribal deck if you've got some big creatures in there as well. I mean, maybe like a Craterhoof Behemoth obviously could be a great thing to cheat and play. But yeah, obviously good in Elves. I mean, Shaman tribals aren't really a thing, and there are some Shaman tribal decks out there. But yeah, if you just have a big, beefy creature deck and you're like, sure, let's just throw this in there to get those things into play and just cheat them into play very cheaply, that can be a huge play. Again, just $1.63 now. Next up, Scourge of the Throne, a 5/5 dragon for 4 red. Dragons are quite popular. Did you know that? One of the most popular tribes out there. $3.40 right now, this reprint, dropping down from around $10 or so to down to this. That is huge. Flying Dethrone. Dethrone's a very interesting mechanic. Whenever this creature attacks the player with the most life or tap for the most life, you get a counter on it. So basically, hey, swing at that player that's, you know, they're ahead of everyone else. No one's going to complain about you swinging at them, right? And they might complain, though, when this happens, because whenever this attacks, for the first time of each turn, it's attacking the player with the most life or tap for the most life, untap all attacking creatures. After this phase, will combat phase. Basically, if you dethrone a player, yeah, or swing at the player with the most life, I guess is what I mean, you get an extra combat. And again, like I mentioned before, the combat Celebrant, extra combats are incredibly powerful. So yeah, Ishin decks as well. I mean, Ishin's very powerful. Very, very popular commander. Any kind of extra combat strategies can really utilize this. Again, just Dragon Tribal is going to want this too. So yeah, it's just a great card. A good reprint. Just $3.40 now. A giant price drop. Next up, thank you, Wizards, for finally reprinting these old Talismans. Took them so long. Talisman of Progress, down to $1.58, nearly within my budget. Just a couple more reprints might do it. This one, I mean, starter commander decks, it had a reprint in there, but like before that in Warhammer, like this hadn't been reprinted since like, what, 2004 in like a World Championship deck? Like this one had never seen a reprint. This was in Mirrored, and this one's like it was like a $12 card or something at some point. Goodness gracious. Dropping it down a ton though. I mean, this was already like a $3, $4, $5, $6 card, now dropping down to nearly within my budget. Very simple artifact for 2 mana. Taps for colors, taps for either white or blue, deals 1 damage to you. Again, there's the other talismans. There's talismans of all color combinations essentially. But yeah, this one specifically just really hasn't seen many reprints at all, and therefore has never been budget friendly. Finally getting there to the point where it's nearly my budget. If you are looking for this card, if you're looking for a great ramp card, again, very efficient, very effective. 1 damage is absolutely nothing in a game of Commander. Make sure you check this one out. Next up, Vanquish's Banner, another great tribal card. Artifact for 5. Enters the battlefield, choose that creature type, anthem for your creatures of that type, +1/+1. Whenever you cast a creature spell of the type, you draw a card. That is massive. Yeah, that anthem is nice. More importantly, though, you're casting creature spell after creature spell after creature spell, especially for like an elf tribal deck or something like that that has low to the ground creatures that maybe even give you mana. Just an example. This generates you an absurd amount of card advantage. It doesn't matter what kind of creature that is. It doesn't, I mean, it matters the type. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a big creature, small creature, there's no power requirement. It doesn't matter even if that creature spell is countered. You are still drawing that card. So yeah, a huge effect. $3.88, less than $4 now. Was like a $7, $8 card previously. So yeah, a big reprint. Yeah, tribal decks out there are getting a lot of good pieces right now. Next up, Shared Animosity. Speaking of tribal decks, if you are in red, definitely consider this card. Enchantment for 3 mana total, 2 in a red. Whenever a creature you control attacks, gets +1/+0 until end of turn. For each other attacking creature, choose a creature type with it. Just think about like Kranko. Just think about like Goblin Tribal. Tons of goblins on the board. Little tiny little eeny weeny goblins, right? Like a 1/1. All right. Oh, cool. I just swung with 20 of them. Cool. They all get +20, +0. Sure, some of them might get taken out because they only have 1 toughness, but the ones that get through and hit your opponents are going to be obliterated with this. And also, if you've got like first strike, yeah, your creatures are going to be really hard to stop. This one came down from like $7, $8 or so down to just like $3, or actually $2.50, $2.56 right now. Pretty incredible. This one again hadn't seen too many reprints. Morning Tide, yeah, was a long time ago, basically reprint in 2020, but since then not really. So yeah, a huge reprint, a great card again for tribal decks. You're getting a lot of pieces in these prints and in these reprints, and yeah, there you go. Shared Animosity, a great one. Next up, Sanguine Vod. This card is brutally effective in life gain strategies, or to say great combo piece with, what is it, Exquisite Blood. Sanguine Bond is an enchantment for 3 black. Whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. Basically like the original like veto type effect. Hey, let's drain an opponent whenever we gain. So again, life drain decks, yeah, you're plenty of ways to gain an absurd amount of life. Just like a Congregate, gain 20 life, cool, drain an opponent for 20. That is massive. But again, obviously there's combo pieces. Plenty of ways to work and interact with this card. Again, it being an enchantment is huge. Like I mentioned with Asceticism, hard to deal with in most cases. Yeah, a great card. Down to just $1.10. Nearly budget friendly. When I started this channel, I believe this card was budget friendly, but then all those combos kind of started working out with it. Yeah, a couple of reprints over time. Finally dropping this one down, from like a $3 card or so just to $1.10. Please drop slightly further so I can start using you. Sanguine Bond, a great card in many decks out there. Next up, Swansong. Yeah, huge reprint. This is one of the most popular counterspells out there for a reason. A single blue mana instant speed. Counter target enchantment, instant or sorcery spell. This controller gets a 2/2 blue bird with flying. Cool. Hey, opponent, do you want those things or you don't want this bird? Too bad. You get a bird. So yeah, just a 1 mana counterspell. They can counter a good amount of things. Again, instant sorceries, enchantments. All those are on the chopping block with this, essentially. Yeah, just for a single mana counterspells are very rare, especially ones that are very effective. Down to $7 right now. Was like a $13, $14 card before this. A huge price drop, and one that, well, I'm sure a lot of players are going to look to take advantage of because, yeah, this is just a great card overall. So, yeah, if you've been waiting for Swansong to drop, make sure you pick it up now. Speaking of counter spells, Arcane Denial. This one nearly getting within my budget. $1.68, dropping down a lot from that $4, $5, $6 mark, essentially. This one has seen a lot of price fluctuation over the years. I remember this one was budget friendly for me at one point after a reprint, just like barely dropping in there, so I got to utilize it. Yeah, a really good card. Basically just 2 mana, 1 in a blue, so easier to cast than just the straight up counter spell. Instant, counter a spell, any spell. No requirement on what kind of spell it is. Counter any spell. There is a trade-off though. Its controller can draw up to 2 cards at the beginning of the next upkeep. You draw 1, so you also get card advantage. Yes, that opponent gets card advantage too, basically like a 1-card replacement for it, and then an extra card too. Still, this is going to be worth countering basically a lot of things. Again, if something is like game ending, you're like, oh yeah, let's not let that happen. Or just a very good, very efficient card opponent's going to cast. Get rid of it. Let them draw some cards. Sure, you get to draw a card as well to replace this too. A great counter spell in many situations. A very popular one of the most popular ones out there. Finally dropping down to even near my budget territory. Please reprint it again to get it there. Thank you so much. Moving on. Angstawn Making, one of the most popular and best removal spells out there. Now just $2.59, still not quite my budget, but still a big price drop from like $5, $6 or where it's been. It's actually seen a decent amount of reprints over the years since when it came out. I'm sure I was over Innistrad. I could still use some more. Instant for 3 mana in total, 1 white, black. Exile target non-land permanent, you lose 3 life. 3 life is nothing again in a game of Commander. In a 3 mana, instant speed, get rid of basically anything. Sure, not a Gaia's Cradle, but basically anything spell. That is massive. Permanently get rid of the best thing on the board. Yeah, do so. Yeah, I'll lose 3 life. That's fine. For 3 mana, that is huge. So yeah, a great reprint. One that, again, might be within your budget. If it is, consider picking it up. Speaking of a removal spell, yeah, one of the most popular, best wraths out there, Supreme Verdict. Sorcery for 4 mana in total. 1 white, white, and a blue. So a decently restrictive casting cost, but still, this spell can be counters for all creatures. A Wrath of God, basically, that's like, yeah, you're not stopping it. That is huge. This can be game-saving in so many situations out there. Being like, oh gosh, that player is so far ahead. They've got this massive army. They've got mana ready for a counter spell. Too bad, doesn't matter. I'm going to get rid of the entire board. Let's restart things so that I can survive. Now down to $1.45, just outside my budget. Unfortunate, that's okay. Maybe it'll get another reprint and get back into my budget at some point. But yeah, $4 or so card dropping down to just around $8. That is huge. If you're looking for a great Wrath and you're in Azorius colors, make sure you're considering this one. And then Overwhelming Stampede. I remember this card being like a great finisher for so many decks out there that I was utilizing. My very first deck, even my Rishkar deck, not first one on the channel, but first one I ever built. Yeah, a great card. Until end of turn, creature you control gain tremble, get +X for the greatest power from creatures you control. 3 green, essentially like an overrun effect, but better because overrun's just always +3/+3. This is variable based on the greatest power, and if you've got a 10 power creature, cool, that's game ending. You're going to probably win from there because you're just like, yeah, let's just pump my team a ton for just 5 mana, give them trample, swing through, take your opponents out. This can be a huge card in a lot of creature based decks out there. And yeah, its price has been reflecting that with how it's been going up over the years, with its reprints knocking it down every now and then. It's like a $4 card or so around these days, down to just outside my budget, $1.05. Oh, please drop just ever so slightly more. Please, I mean, reprint it more. But yeah, last reprint was 2019, so it's been a while. Before that, like 2015. So yeah, this card is huge. This card is massive. This card is used in a lot of decks out there. Make sure you consider picking it up. Moving on, let's go into some lands really quick. Rejuvenating Springs. Enters battlefield, unless you control 2 or more opponents. Control, unless you have 2 or more opponents. If you control your opponents, great, you probably win. If you have 2 or more opponents, yeah, this can come into play untapped. Basically a dual land for Commander in some ways. It can tap for a green or blue. There's other ones like this out there. I believe these are like the Battle Bond lands. I don't know, Commander Legends. Anyway, there's the Battle Bonds ones too. Regardless, huge reprint. Again, $18 or so for like one version, $7 or so for another one. This one's down to just $3.41. A massive price drop. Yeah, unless it's late game and you just have one opponent left, cool. This is just basically a dual land for you. A massive, it doesn't have the types. Okay, sure. But it's still just a very good card that can tap for 1 of 2 mana and it enters the battlefield and tap. That's huge. Speaking of which, Glacier Fortress, a great card as well. This one enters the battlefield, tap unless you control like plains or an island. Cool. Hey, it also taps for a white or a blue. And yeah, if you're in Azorius and you've got, you know, probably a lot of basics in your deck, this is probably going to come to play untapped. $1.81, a good price drop for around $3 or so. Next up, Sunfeld Grow, basically the exact same thing, but in Selesnya. Forester Plains are the requirements. This one dropped down to $2.54 from around $4 or so as well. Again, another great price drop for another great land. Woodland Cemetery. Let's talk about that again. There's battlefield tap unless you control a swamp or forest. So again, basically Golgari's version of this, $1.56. So again, just outside of my budget, unfortunately. But yeah, a $2, $3 card or so, a good price drop. Yeah, a lot of good lands reprinted in these precons. And then finally, Underground River, a land that goes about in a different way. This one taps for colorless or can tap for blue or black. It deals 1 damage to you. 1 damage is nothing in Commander, like I said with the Talisman. Absolutely nothing in Commander. So yeah, I mean, if you need that mana fixing, utilize it. If not, don't take the damage. Just tap for colorless. This is huge coming to play untapped. Again, just $1.54 right now, dropping down from like $3 or $4. So yeah, a ton of great reprints from the precons. Again, if you haven't seen my episode on the more budget ones that even I can use right now, I mean, there's a lot of great ones. Like even Basalt Monolith saw a reprint, and it is budget friendly now for me. But yeah, a lot of great ones have you seen in this episode. If you're interested in any of these, make sure you check out that card list link in the description below. Make sure you comment below with your thoughts on this. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.